Watching this evolution through the years has been fascinating.
This is the staircase with evidence of murder.
You don't know what's going to happen next.
Court TV is the best true crime.
There's gonna be trouble. Let's have it! Keep your eyes open. Pull that trigger.
Well, that's right.
I'll find you, and I'll kill you. Now all I need is a fresh horse, a saddle, and a gun.
Every day on Court TV.
Get ready, folks. We've got a lot to get to.
Witness the raw emotion.
She didn't need to die that night.
I just snapped.
The outbursts.
This is ridiculous. Don't get brazen with me.
The life or death drama.
I just killed a man.
Live inside the courtroom.
I could have said that I was guilty a long time ago.
Every trial, every verdict, every single day. Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
You want to do something meaningful? Here's your chance.
If we got motive and opportunity, it fits.
No, it doesn't fit. This could change history.
We're in.
All of us are psycho.
I know we can do this.
Guys, big problem.
Show us what you got.
What y'all watching? Whatever you like. Hello, somebody. Okay.
That's the only channel comes in clear around here.
That show is still on?
They're on season 49.
Shocking, yet exhilarating.
Look at go. Won't he do it? Yes, it will.
Yaz is a young black woman trying to find her way through Atlanta with love.
TV.
#0433.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We have been watching the gripping testimony from Michelle Rogers. She is the ex-girlfriend of Matthew Terry, and she was the victim of a stabbing incident in the state of Michigan back in 2017, and she told the jurors in great detail about what happened, saying the defendant attacked her in her home and attacked her repeatedly, stabbing her. She was able to survive that attack. Now she's on cross-examination. They're at a sidebar. This is a live look inside the courtroom as the attorneys are discussing a matter with Judge Sabella. Over in Wisconsin, though, the Darrell Brooks sentencing hearing has just begun. Judge Dorow is on the bench there. CourtTV.com is where to go if you want to watch Michelle Rogers the rest of the cross-examination. We are going to switch over to Waukesha, Wisconsin, and join the sentencing hearing for Darrell Brooks live. Let's go in.
Into 3 or 4 groups. I think we're
We're at 3, we're at 4. Okay, we're at 4 groups. We have the first group present in the courtroom, Your Honor, and along with their support persons and family members and things like that. We will go through the first group and then request that brief break to trade out the groups if that's agreeable to the court. I just want the court to be aware and state something that's maybe obvious, but maybe not. The people that are speaking to this court are direct victims of this crime. They were either charged individuals or representatives of the groups, such as the Blazers or the bank or whatever. You're very familiar with these groups now after having gone through trial. These are people with a direct link to either someone that was hurt or injured or killed. That's who we're presenting to you today. Obviously, there could have been thousands of people that would want to share with this court their thoughts, impressions, and the impact that this crime had on them. We did not turn anyone away, but some individuals did contact our office and expressed a desire to contact the court, or I'm sorry, to speak to the court. We directed them to write the court a letter if they felt it was appropriate. I don't know if the court received any such written materials. We also provided some written impact statements on behalf of our charged victims. I know the court has those and has very likely reviewed those already. So I don't want to spend a lot of time with my thoughts and impressions right now, because I think what's really most important is for this court to hear from these families. And the reason I say that is, Judge, that at trial, we asked some cursory questions about the injuries that were received and the impact that these crimes had on the individuals that were directly involved, but we didn't spend a lot of time on that. And I think this court is really going to be astounded to hear the level of injury that many of these people suffered. Many children suffered the impact, the life-changing impact it's had on them. So this will be different and new information than what we presented at trial. And I think it's very relevant and important for Your Honor to consider when you're deciding on a fair and appropriate sentence, and knowing the gravity of the crime, the seriousness of the situation, and the impact that it had on the community, to hear from these families directly as to what they went through. And again, this was touched on at trial as far as the physical injury versus the emotional injury and the trauma that has been suffered. So I think that will be important as well for this court to appreciate this defendant's conduct. We're past the guilty finding. He's been convicted. Now it's time to talk about what exactly his conduct did to our community and to these families. So these speakers are grouped, not necessarily within the groups as they march down the street, but there is some logic to, so we're not going to bounce all over the place is what I'm trying to say. We'll try and clump them together to make the most sense to the court, and with the court's permission. We have a set lineup. Of course, we may need to be a little bit fluid depending on somebody's emotional state or desire to speak when it's their appointed turn. There are some individuals that have said they're going to try and read their statement to the court, but they may not be able to get through it, in which case I believe Jen Dunn will step in and read the remainder of the statement for them.
Thank you. Would you please confirm on the record that the state has complied with victim rights?
Yes, we will confirm that, Your Honor. Thank you.
And then please give the court a heads up when a juvenile is next.
Yes.
So that the cameras can take the appropriate steps as well.
Yes, absolutely. And for the record, we did provide a list to the cameramen from Court TV, or individuals from Court TV, and we're trying to assist them in that regard as well. We want to thank them again for their high degree of concern for obeying the court's order and their respect and intention to strictly adhere to maintaining the privacy rights of these victims. So they've been absolutely very professional in that regard, Your Honor.
Thank you. And then just lastly, because I would like to keep track, and obviously I will honor however they want to introduce themselves, but if you could also tell me which victim they relate to, if it's not self-evident.
Sure.
That would be great as well, and I'm going to keep a list.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
Go ahead.
All right, then. I believe our first speaker would be Lori Loken.
And if it pleases, is this on? How's the volume? There we go. If it pleases the court, Your Honor, one of my staff will actually go let Court TV know when a minor is coming next.
Thank you. I would appreciate that.
All right. And are you going to say the victim that you relate to, or I can tell the court this is for victim you?
Thank you. Good morning, ma'am. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. I'm addressing the court. Is the microphone on? Yeah, it is. Okay. I'm addressing the court, but I also want to direct my comments to Darrell Brooks, Jr. My name is Lori Loken. I was walking with the Catholic community of Waukesha, my church family. We were celebrating the joy of the season in preparation for the birth of Jesus when you made your decision to drive through the parade route. It truly amazes me that you deny your accountability for the damage and hurt that you have willfully caused. In the years ahead, I urge you to carefully consider the sorrow and grief of the Waukesha community and the world at large. Ponder the loss of lives within our families, the physical and emotional injuries that may never heal, and the sense of personal safety that you robbed from us. As for me, you never gave me a chance. I turned around and it was only seconds before you hit me square on. I clearly remember feeling the impact. The searing pain of that blow is as clear to me today as it was a year ago. Since then, I'm healing as best as I can from the physical injuries, but you took away my peace and my trust, something that I will never regain. My prayer for you is that you will find your salvation in the midst of this evil. I hope that you will repent for the heartache you have caused so many. I too pray that your own personal wounds that you have sustained through your life, which has created so many demons in you, will be healed through this action. Thank you.
Thank the court for this opportunity. I am Bill Mitchell, formerly known as Victim ZZ. To you, Mr. Brooks, I'm charge 52. On November 21st, 2021, I was marching with the Catholic community of Waukesha and the Waukesha Christmas Parade. I was walking in the back and I noticed our banner was flying up because of the wind. So I went up to hold down the middle with so people could read it. I was joined by a priest who helped hold it down. We walked almost the entire joyful parade route when something caught my attention. I turned around and saw a headlight. And then I was hit. I didn't see the driver, and I didn't see the type of vehicle. I flew over the hood and ended up on the ground with 8 broken ribs, bruised lung, a fractured hand, finger, and my face was slashed open in several places, requiring stitches. Strangers and friends came to my aid as I lay bleeding in the street. I spent 3 nights in an ICU. Recovery was slow. My hand still has painful cramps that freeze in my fingers. But I know I was lucky. Others had a lot worse injuries, and 6 died. The impact on my family was great. My wife was home recuperating from surgery when she received the call I was hurt badly and on the way to a hospital trauma center. Not able to drive yet, she had to wait for my son and his fiancée to pick her up and drive her to Oconomowoc. And after I was released, she had to do a 180 from patient to be my nurse and help me in even the most basic tasks. The stress had slowed her recovery, The continuing pain was a major factor on me giving up a part-time job I enjoyed. We had to rely on family and friends for transportation to doctors for follow-up care for months. Neighbors pitched in to do my yard work and snow removal. Youth from the neighborhood decorated the inside of our house for Christmas. This crime had a ripple effect throughout the community. I do want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for your diligence and sacrifice to be here. I tell people I was blessed because I didn't see the carnage that night. I just saw people helping me. But the jury and all of you had to watch the entire awful scene on videos and hear detailed reports of what happened. I'm sure that's going to stay with all of you. I wanted to thank the judge for her patience and knowledge, the police, Detective Casey, for their thorough investigation and quick arrest, the prosecution for presenting such a strong case. A special thank you to Jen Dunn, Carrie, and the entire victims assistance team that informed, comforted, and listened to the many people impacted by this tragic event. Finally, I can't bring myself to thank the defendant, but the response to the evil act he did shined a spotlight on how strong, supportive, and loving community we live in. Many people and organizations stepped up to help me. Family, friends, neighbors, co-workers, first responders, Aurora, doctors, nurses, my church family, the Catholic community of Waukesha, Knights of Columbus, AOH, United for Waukesha Community Fund, Catholic Charities, and so many strangers offered support and prayers. The vast majority of people are good. That said, then there is Mr. Brooks.
All right, we need to slip in a break here as we approach the top of the hour. This is two of dozens of people that will get up and speak to the court and to Darrell Brooks. Notice that he has been well behaved so far. We'll see what happens as we continue. We're going to break in here and get you back to Wisconsin after this.
095.
I do hope Mr. Brooks will use the Bible for more than a courtroom prop. He may want to start with the basics that I know his family had taught him, thou shalt not kill. But then you might want to read Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. Your Honor, I hope you give him the time to read and study the Bible. Mr. Brooks did everything he could to try to make the trial a circus. It is not a circus. It's not even about Mr. Brooks. Today, the court will hear what the trial is about, the victims. And as former victim ZZ, I would ask the court for a sentence that keeps the defendant, Darrell E. Brooks Jr., away from society forever. Thank you.
Top there. Welcome back to Court TV Live. We are bringing you live coverage this morning of the Darrell Brooks sentencing hearing. Over 40 people who were injured or saw their loved ones injured or killed when Brooks drove his SUV through the Waukesha, Wisconsin parade plan to address the court today and him. It's expected to be an emotional day in court. 6 people were killed, 61 injured. Each of the 6 homicide convictions carry a mandatory life sentence. It's up to Judge Jennifer Dorow if the life sentences will be consecutive. Victim impact statements are expected to take the entire day, and then tomorrow the judge will issue her sentence. Testimony in the math teacher murder trial in Matthew Terry is also underway. This morning we watched as his ex-girlfriend took the stand and told the story of being attacked at the hands of the defendant. That case is on a mid-morning break right now, but you can watch it live streaming on courttv.com. Let's go back to Wisconsin and into the courtroom as the sentencing hearing for Darrell Brooks continues.
Made us second guess what we did that day. What could we have done differently? During this trial, you show no remorse. It makes you look like a monster. During the trial, you show little regard and respect to the court. It makes you look disrespectful. During the trial, you treated multiple witnesses terribly. You were trying to twist the words of our pastor, who is a man of the cloth. You made a comment to a witness you injured that he was walking fine now. It makes you a callous jerk. Despite what you have done to my community, I forgive you. Forgiveness does not remove the need for justice. Justice must be served and you must go to prison. My prayer is that forgiveness will heal your wounds and the wounds for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Your Honor. My name is Margaret Petulis, victim BBB, count 54. I know I am blessed to be here today to present my statement to the court. Darrell Brooks's choices on November 21st, 2021 took a toll mentally, physically, and emotionally on me, as well as affecting my family. I remember the moment someone yelled "car," and I turned to see a vehicle behind and to the right of me. My thought was, what is this vehicle doing here? After that moment, I have a void in my memory. My mind won't let me see what happened. I remember my thoughts. Oh my God, this can't be happening. Please, not my hip, not my leg. My next memory is lying on the ground with a person from our group and a nurse talking to me and asking how I was. They worked on keeping me calm and from going in and replay the incident to see if I could get the memory back. Months of counseling and the passage of time have helped me be somewhat okay with not knowing what happened. One of my fears is that when I least expect it, the memory will return. After being impacted by the vehicle, I was laying on the ground with severe pain to my left leg. Emergency people stopped by, and one questioned whether I had been shot, and all I could think of is why would I have been shot? I was eventually lifted into a police SUV and taken to Waukesha Memorial Hospital. I was examined and was released after being diagnosed with a broken bone in my left foot. I was instructed to wear the boot provided by the hospital, sit in a recliner, keep my leg elevated, and not put any weight on my left foot. I was instructed to follow up with an orthopedic doctor the following week. I went home and found it very hard to get from the car into the house. I couldn't figure out how to walk without putting my left foot down on the ground. My stomach was nauseous from the pain medicine. My husband and daughter assisted me into the house and sat me in a chair. I immediately passed out, and when I came to, my husband and daughter were concerned that I had had a stroke. They called 911, and I was transferred to Aurora Trauma Center. I was examined head to toe and again released with a diagnosis of a broken bone in my left foot. We live in a tri-level, and I was able to get to the lower level where there is a bedroom, a bathroom, and a family room. For the next 6 weeks, I would sit in the recliner with my left leg elevated and ice packs applied. I also slept with a wedge that kept my leg elevated while I was sleeping. After experiencing more pain in my left leg, I was sent for an ultrasound, and the ultrasound found a hematoma on the inside of my right leg. Standing up was extremely painful even without putting pressure on my left foot. It would take me a couple of times of standing and then sitting back down on the side of the bed until I could bring myself to hop on my right leg using a walker for balance to get to the bathroom or to the recliner. My husband had to help me in and out of bed due to the extreme pain in my lower left leg. I couldn't dress or undress myself, take a shower, go to doctor's appointments, or to mass without his help. Every day he had to apply gauze wrap and an ace bandage to my left leg to cover the blisters so that as they would burst, they were covered. He then applied the boot sock and a boot. Every day for several weeks, he had to prepare all meals and bring them down on a tray to me. We were fortunate that he was working from home during this time. I had orthopedic appointments and 3 rounds of physical therapy. I am still going through physical therapy. After the bone healed in my foot, I was still experiencing pain in my ankle. The pain limited me. I had trouble walking normally, could not walk any great distance. Going up and down the stairs was best sitting on the stairs and going down that way. As time went on, I was frustrated that I could not perform the simple act of walking down the stairs. Before going to the 3rd physical therapist, frustration set in as I thought I would always have pain and not be able to do all the things I enjoyed, such as pickleball, stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking, walking miles, and traveling. My 3rd round of physical therapy found that the whole left side of my body was twisted from the impact of the vehicle. After 10.5 months and 3 rounds of physical therapy, I am now 95% back to normal. All the months of suffering and thinking no one would be able to figure out what was wrong, I was worried that the pain would remind me forever the choices Darrell Brooks made on November 21st, 2021. I wanted my life back. During this time of healing, I felt isolated and frustrated that the Advent and the Christmas season were happening, and I was unable to decorate, shop, or participate as I usually would during the holidays. Emotionally, since being struck by the vehicle driven by Darrell Brooks, I have felt like a victim. Every day I was reminded that I was limited by physical pain and loss of self. The world went on, but I was stuck, not able to move forward. Today, I am taking the final step forward in my journey of coming out the other side of this incident. Life is starting to look like it was before November 21st, 2021. I know I am not the same person that I was before this trauma, but now I have an enhanced appreciation for life and a stronger sense of spirituality. I am grateful to have a supportive family, supportive friends, and my Catholic community of Waukesha who have all walked this road with me. Forgiveness is a choice. I know that I can forgive you, Darrell Brooks, without forgetting the trauma you caused, without you apologizing and acknowledging your actions. This may take some time for me to accomplish, but after today, I will not let your actions take over my life. I will move on. Regarding sentencing, Your Honor, I would like to request that due to Darrell Brooks's total lack of concern for human life on November 21st, 2021, that for each count that the jury returned a guilty verdict, Darrell Brooks received the maximum sentence for each of those counts. Thank you.
All right, that's victim impact statement number 3. We'll get a break in and see who is next. Darrell Brooks he had his hands folded like this for a while. He was reading his Bible. Now he's fidgeting. We'll see how he endures this as the day moves on after this.
The jury find the defendant guilty.
Darrell Brooks, who is representing himself, is set to learn his fate.
And you'll see it all right here on Court TV.
The deadly parade crash sentencing. Live coverage today.
Take a look at this. Something provocative.
We all need an identity. We have to be friends with ourselves.
I caught a cheat.
Through the people?
He admitted to having sex.
At some point, we're gonna catch somebody in a lie.
That was sensational.
Tell me something I don't know.
Cool, huh?
That was fun.
I had no idea.
Let the games begin.
You want to do something meaningful? Here's your chance.
We got motive and opportunity. It fits.
No, it doesn't fit. This could change history.
We're in.
All of us are psycho. I know we can do this.
Guys, big problem.
Show us what you got.
My sweet beans, come here, turn around for me. Let me see your outfit. Oh, you're showing a little too much skin. Now let's cover this up, cover this up.
I really feel like I lost myself out here. I don't have a career. I don't have savings.
You have a star that's inside of you. Let that star shine bright.
Girl, shut up. Looking like a big old squash over here. Being picky is not a luxury I have right now. Time to do what makes me happy.
Finding Happy, a Bounce original series. Catch up on every episode on the Brown Sugar app.
These are the cases that shape the American justice system.
But what is certain is the most important issue. Innocence or guilt. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Watching this evolution through the years has been fascinating.
This is the staircase with evidence of murder.
You don't know what's going to happen next.
Court TV is the best true crime.
There's gonna be trouble. Right timing. Keep your eyes open. Pull that trigger.
That's right.
I'll find you and I'll kill you. Now all I
Much on the line, so much at stake. But what was this case really about?
Closing Arguments with Vinnie Politan. Weeknights at 8, 7 Central. Only on Court TV. Every day on Court TV.
Get ready, folks. We've got a lot to get to.
Witness the raw emotion.
She didn't need to die that night.
I just snapped.
The outbursts.
This is ridiculous. Don't get brazen with me.
The life or death drama.
I just killed a man.
Live inside the courtroom.
I could have said that I was guilty a long time ago.
Every trial, every verdict, every single day. Court TV. Your front row seat to justice.
What y'all watching? Whatever you like. Hello, somebody. Okay.
That's the only channel comes in clear around here.
That show is still on?
They're on season 49.
Shocking, yet exhilarating.
Look at go. Won't he do it? Yes, it will.
Victims of the deadly Waukesha parade crash are delivering emotional impact statements this morning. These families are coming face to face with the man who killed or injured their loved ones or injured them. Darrell Brooks was convicted last month of 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide, 61 counts of reckless endangerment. The jury found him guilty on all charges for driving his red SUV through that parade. At least 45 people have asked to speak today and possibly tomorrow, including 9 children. Let's go back into the courtroom. Jeff Rogers, who lost a son and had another son marching in the parade, is addressing the defendant.
I go back to those moments quite often, and when I watch the videos during the trial, it brought back all those feelings. Pure and utter terror. That's what it was, and that's the impact it still has today. Finally, in closing, I'm a man of faith and wanted to share 2 Bible passages which have pushed me through. First of all, my confirmation passage, Joshua 1:9. It reads, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." And secondly, I met with my pastor prior to testifying, and he provided me with an excellent part of Scripture. Philippians 4. It says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all, the Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understandings, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Thank you for listening, and may God strengthen us all.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Jessica Gonzalez, and this is my husband, Juan Gonzalez Lopez. We represent the Blazers organization, as well as many others, and you could even argue the state of Wisconsin. Last night, as I thought about my statement, my son scooched over on the couch and snuggled into me. He laid with his head on my lap, and I stroked his hair. We stayed like that until it was time for bed. He knows we're here today, and it was as if he knew we needed a little extra love last night. Moments like these should be pure with love and affection, but since November 21st, they are mixed with flashes and images of what could have been. Mama, I'm here. I was on the other side. This is one of the memories and words that I'll never forget and hear dozens of times a day without warning. The relief I felt hearing those words on November 21st was devastating, but I found my son, unharmed. That should be the end of the story, right? We're fine, right? Physically, yes, but fine is a word we use when people ask us if we're okay, but we're not. It was only a short time before we had readied for the parade, got our hot cocoa, and took pictures to snap a shot of the fun about to be had. Before the parade, I left him with his teammate and new friend Jackson at the Blazers drop-off spot and walked my daughter to her dance team location. With my mother-in-law visiting from Mexico, she was excited for her first Christmas parade. Stationed at the corner of the Clark Hotel with friends, my daughter's dance group waved with smiles as they passed us. She was headed to the library where I would pick her up. The Dancing Grannies, one of our favorite groups, performed flawlessly as they passed us. My son's baseball group was after the extreme dancers who were within sight. Then the gasps and screams came from everywhere, and the red SUV sped past us. I yelled stop and put my hands out like I had the power to make it happen. I felt like I was punched in the stomach when I realized the SUV came from the direction of my son's group. Panicked and lightheaded, and knowing my daughter was safe, I ran to find my son. Running through the streets, my legs felt like they had a life of their own. I found Jackson first. I saw his little body in his Blazers jersey, his eyes looking up, looking nowhere. I knew he was hurt badly. Seeing Jackson on the ground, I began looking for my son amongst the rest of the bodies. I screamed hysterically, searching frantically. What ifs filled my head. I heard Mom from so many directions, but it wasn't him. Finally, it was. I turned to see him with other Blazers who were in the team truck. He called out to me, "Mama, I'm here. I was on the other side." Yes, I found my son unharmed, but after, the chaos continued. We ran. I covered his eyes as we rushed back to our group. I called my husband to tell him something terrible had happened, but had no words to explain. Headed for the library, we were told there was an active shooter. We ran again. I covered my son's head with my arms so bullets would hit me first. He cried. I tried to assure him and myself that things like this don't happen. At the library, I ran up the stairs and shouted for my daughter, who was huddled with a friend and her daughter. Yes, I found my children unharmed. But after, the pain and terror continued. After the parade, we discovered people had died, and that several people in my son's group were hit, including his coach and teammate. We learned that my son's teammate was in critical condition, but I already knew this. I still see his eyes without closing mine. What does it feel like to attend a funeral of a child your age? I hate that my kids know. I hate that I didn't get a chance to cheer on my son and Jackson during the baseball season last year. I hate that my son said it was weird having one less teammate. For more than a week, it was late nights to avoid sleep, and our family of 4 piled into one bed. There was no question this was a traumatic experience. Counselors were available. My son didn't want to talk about it, and today still doesn't. I tried to return to work. I tried to return to teaching. I couldn't make it through a day without feeling hypervigilant, startling at every noise, having a panic attack from the sound of a door, shout, thud, gasp, anything and everything. After the parade, I couldn't make it through a day. My joy disappeared. I felt guilty. I had no right to feel joy since my son and daughter were alive and others were not. I was open about questions my kids had, but I cried and screamed in agony when they weren't around. I overreacted, shouting and pulling my kids near in the parking lots and streets, or anytime I saw a car come within a quarter mile away, convinced they all had ill intentions. PTSD throws all the punches. I left my career to work intensively on healing in a program for PTSD. I have only just returned to the workplace, only just a month ago. Something quieter, something with less action. Because after almost 1 year, some days still feel like November 21st was yesterday. Intrusive memories, hypervigilance, nightmares, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, anger, guilt, shame. These are all things I and others live with daily because Darrell Brooks drove through our joy and turned it to terror. When he suggested he could have hit more, he was wrong. He hit everyone. The toll this event has taken on everyone, physically hurt or not, is tremendous. And it sickens me to know that there are so many others with a similar story as ours. I know some today may offer forgiveness, but for me, Forgiveness is for accidents, for mistakes or poor choices that the offender expresses remorse for their actions. Darrell Brooks offers no remorse, but he did search for sympathy for himself. I cannot offer forgiveness. I will not. Darrell Brooks should be held accountable for every second of pain and trauma he inflicted on all of us that day, including the many years inflicted already on Miss Patterson. Free, he is and always will be a danger to society. With that, Your Honor, I ask that the full sentence is issued and he spends the rest of his days in prison without the chance of parole. Thank you.
All right, a little eye rolling there from the defendant during the last victim impact statement. We'll get a break in here and continue to watch this emotional day in Waukesha, Wisconsin, as the victims have their chance to speak. Stay with us. Welcome back. This morning, victim impact statements are underway in the Darrell Brooks sentencing hearing. A Wisconsin jury found Brooks guilty on all 76 charges for driving his vehicle through the Waukesha Christmas parade in 2021. Over 40 people are set to give statements, including 9 children. We want to go back into the courtroom now and listen to more of the victim impact statements. Jackson Sparks' mother, speaking with another son, is right next to her, so we can't show the images, but we can hear her. And Jackson Sparks was the young person that died in this. Let's go in live.
My name is Sherry Sparks. I am Jackson and Tucker's mom. I stand here today with my son Tucker and my husband Aaron. I'm here today to represent my family, but mostly for my boys, who were both struck down by the red SUV on November 21st. I want to give a voice to our son Jackson Sparks. Our family is forever changed. We are hurt, angry, traumatized, and broken. November 21st was a day that was supposed to be fun and filled with laughter and smiles. Instead, it became a nightmare full of fear, screams, and tears. I put the first one up. My boys were walking in the Waukesha Christmas parade with their baseball teammates, friends, and coaches. It was a chilly and windy day that day, so we all layered up and prepared to kickstart our holiday season. We met up with our Blazers group, decorated the truck, prepared the buckets of candy and flyers for the boys, took some group photos, and then I left to go find my seat near the end of the parade route and wait for our group while enjoying the parade. I had no idea then the nightmare that was coming my way. Nor did I know that it would be the last time I would hear Jackson's voice and see his smile. I wish I would have known then that the hug he gave me before I went to sit down was the last hug I would ever get from him. I would have held on to him a lot longer. After the red SUV flew past us, it was pure chaos. I will never, ever forget the horrible sound of the car hitting bodies and the thud of bodies landing on the ground. I immediately grabbed my favorite plaid blanket, ran up the street to find my boys. What I found shook my world. I saw Jackson first in the arms of a police officer. He was running him to get him medical attention. My husband was right behind them and told me that Tucker had been struck also. Pointed me back to the direction where Tucker was. Can you do the second photo, please? That's Tucker underneath my blanket there, the plaid blanket. My world came crashing down at that moment. I wanted to scream, I wanted to throw up and cry. Adrenaline kicked in and I went to find my boy. I spotted Jackson's baseball hat lying in the road first. Then Tucker's hat. Then I found Jackson's shoe, which kind of led me to Tucker. I finally spotted him. He was one of the many bodies lying in the road, covered in blankets. I recognized the shoes on his feet. That's how I found him. They're sticking out from under the blanket. I stayed at Tucker's side as he lay in the road waiting for an ambulance to come back for him. He was semi-conscious, but we couldn't move him without a backboard due to his head being injured. They had run out of backboards. Luckily, a nearby shop owner / hero dragged a door out of her shop to roll him onto so we could get him out of the cold and get him warm. An hour laying out in the cold road where he was thrown from impact. You can go to the next photo, please. This is what we were facing next. Both boys had traumatic head and brain injuries. They both ended up in the ICU at Children's Hospital. Their rooms just a few doors down from one another. The next day, Tucker asked us about Jackson, if he was okay or was he worse than himself. Do you have any idea how gut-wrenching it is to have to explain your 12-year-old son that his little brother isn't going to make it? His injuries were too extensive for his little body to come back from. and that he won't be coming home with us ever again. Leaving him at the hospital was brutal. To see the confusion, frustration, and hurt on his face when he's standing over his little brother in his hospital room, taking in all the machines he was hooked up to. Tucker remembers everything up until the moment he was hit. He had actually turned around and saw the SUV coming towards them. He said Jackson was right next to him. He said he saw a few people get hit, and then he tried to run out of harm's way. He didn't make it. Being the protective big brother, Tucker blamed himself. He felt he should have tried to grab Jackson or done more to protect his little brother. It broke my heart to hear him saying these things. Tucker's physical injuries were also severe. He still struggles with memory issues and brain processing speed. The mental and emotional damage is severe. Survivor's guilt, PTSD, anxiety, he still gets headaches. His little brother was taken from him. He's suddenly an only child now. He misses his little brother and his playmate. Jackson brought out the silly in him, and life will never be the same without him. You can go to the next photo. Every holiday, special event, family function, vacation, there will always be an empty chair or space where Jackson should be. Jackson's absence is very prominent. Every day we face that vacancy, and it triggers sadness and trauma. Jackson's life was taken from him and taken from us. Life isn't the same without him, and it never will be. This morning, I should have spent the morning making him breakfast, taking him to school, hearing about his day later. Instead, I'm standing here in this courtroom, asking for justice for my boys. We came so close to losing both of them that day. I miss Jackson every second of every single day. I feel gutted and broken. It hurts to breathe sometimes. It hurts to live without him here. My mama's soul aches for him. I am emotionally and mentally exhausted. The pain I carry with me every day feels so heavy. Yet I have to push forward, still be there to help Tucker heal, and move forward with find our new normal. You can go to the next photo, please. As a family of faith, we know this man will face God's judgment someday for his actions. Until then, we feel it is this court's duty and responsibility to all the victims to sentence this man to the maximum penalty allowed under Wisconsin law for each and every guilty charge. We feel this man does not deserve to see freedom in our lifetime, nor our son Tucker's lifetime. We have learned throughout this trial that this man is incapable of empathy or remorse. He has shown no sympathy nor apology for all of the pain, suffering, and loss of life he has caused to so many. This man not only took Jackson away from our family, he violently ripped Jackson out of our lives. Jackson was only 8 years old. 8. He only had 8 years here with us. He was robbed of everything. He'll never get to hit a home run, catch frogs with his brother again, meet his wrestling hero, Braun Strowman. He won't ask a girl to prom. He won't go to college, get married, or have children of his own. Jackson will never be able to do any of these things. These milestones will never happen. He was a bright light in our lives. He was very shy to most people, but those close to him, to his family, he was a big ball of energy. He was charismatic and full of light in life. His life was cut out way too short. Jackson and the other victims deserve justice. We deserve closure in order to heal and find our new normal. We hope to achieve that today. Thank you. And thank you, prosecution, Judge Dorow, very much. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
At this time, Your Honor, we'd like to request a break and bring in the second group.
Yes, the court's going to step off as well while you do that. We'll take about a 10-minute break.
Thank you.
Doesn't get much more emotional than that. Even the defendant showing a little emotion there. And they're going to take a break. We'll get a break here and talk about this trial. Also, the Matthew Terry trial going on in Florida. We've been monitoring that. Get you caught up after the break. Stay with us.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
Darrell Brooks, who is representing himself, is set to learn his fate.
And you'll see it all right here on Court TV.
The Deadly Parade crash sentencing. Live coverage today on
Welcome back. It's a busy morning here at Court TV. Emotional day in Waukesha, Wisconsin, as victim impact statements are being read during the sentencing hearing for Darrell Brooks. You remember, of course, a Wisconsin jury found Brooks guilty on all 76 charges, including 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide for driving his vehicle through the Waukesha Christmas parade back in 2021. Over 40 people are scheduled to give victim impact statements. We're